Hello, this tutorial will introduce the RMarkdown and how can we utilize RMarkdown in RStudio for our further usage. So let's briefly introduce RMarkdown. RMarkdown is an authoring format that enables easy creation of dynamic documents, presentation, and reports from R. And we're gonna introduce some basic features we're gonna further use. First one is RMarkdown create an easy to write plain text format. It is a core syntax of the Markdown. And if you want to include the R commands inside RMarkdown, you can create the R code chunks and then copy the codes between the chunks. And the output generated from the R commands can also be included in the final documents. And the final document can be in different format. For example, it can be HTML, PDF, and Microsoft Word. And finally, R Markdown is reproducible. For example, if you have any changes in your R code or data, you can just automatically regenerate the output file again. Well, next is a brief comparison between R Markdown and R Script. We used R Script last week, so we can see here the comments are included after the hash key, so R will not recognize this comment. While here in the R Markdown, we will use plain text for the comment. And for the R command, R codes, well, we include R codes between two lines of comment, but here we will need to introduce and include insert a R code chunk, and then use the chunk to add the R codes. Well, one important difference between Markdown and Script is R Markdown can generate output document. And the document can be in different format, for example, PDF, HTML, and Microsoft Word. Well, here is an example of me using the PDF format. So here, you can see that I can include the title and the comment and the code, our command codes, and the output together in the same document. Next, we will demonstrate how can we create a new R Markdown file in RStudio. Before start R Markdown file, there are two things we need to download. The first one is a package. We need to download the R Markdown package and load this package in our RStudio. So firstly, I will use install.packages function and include the R Markdown package name to install and load this package. So it may take a second to install in your R. And next, we will use library to load this package to our RStudio. So remember to put a double quotation outside this package name and inside the parentheses. And also library and the name of the package will load this package to your RStudio. The next thing we want you to install in your local machine is called tag. Tag is used to convert the output file into a PDF format output file. So if you want to output the PDF format output document, you need to download this tag application in your local machine. Well, if you have a Mac machine, you can go to tag.org to download this application. Or if you have a Windows machine, you can go to maketag.org to download this application. So this application will take up to 5 GB of your hard drive space. So after you downloading this package, the package and this application, we can start to create a new R. To create a new R Markdown file, you can go directly to File, New File, R Markdown, or here is a New tab. You click R Markdown. So it will pop up a window asking you the type of the output document. So we want it to be a document, and the title for this document, we want to be R Markdown test. And there are some option formats you can choose from. The first one is HTML, PDF, and then Word. We want to be PDF, and we click OK. So it will give us a default RMarkdown file with all this contents. Well, to create your own RMarkdown file, let's just keep the title and outputs and delete the rest of the contents. So remember last week we had our script of data structure. Well, I will copy the comment and code from the structure to the R command and let you see the differences. So let's go ahead. So here, remember we first created 3 vectors of 3 medical patients information, and I want to copy this comment first to this RMarkdown file. Well, in RMarkdown file, you no longer need the hash key to keep those comments to be ignored by R. You can use the plain text. Well, if you want to create a new paragraph, for example, I want to start a new line starting from this create. Well, I will use double space to separate 2 different lines. Well, it doesn't work if you only type enter. So that doesn't work. You have to type double space. Well, these are the comments that we had in this R Markdown file. Well, next we want to copy those vector R commands inside this R Markdown file. Well, the first thing we need to do is to go to the chunks and to insert chunk. So now we have a green area start with 3 apostrophe and a brace and a R inside this brace, and this area ends with 3 apostrophe. So between these 2 lines of apostrophe, we will paste our R code inside this chunk. So now R only run the codes inside the chunk, so they will ignore the part outside our code chunks. So next, let's do another example. So extract the number of members in the temperature vector. And then I will double space and insert another chunk. Inside this chunk, let's output the length of the temperature. So similar to our script, you can run this R command line by line by clicking run. Or you can run this chunk by chunk. For example, you have your cursor in this first chunk. You can go to chunks and run current chunk. So it will run this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of R commands and output you with the type of temperature and class of subject name. Well, you can also run the next chunk. For example, my cursor is still inside this chunk and I want to run the length function. So I go to run next chunk. It will output me with the length of the temperature. Well, next we will introduce you how to create a table inside this R Markdown file. So I already created one here. Let me just copy it. So I just demonstrate you the format and output. So you paste this table outside the code chunk, but the R Markdown will still output it as a table. So you will use the bars as a separator for different columns. And you can also use this hyphen. This hyphen, also known as the minus signs, to separate different rows. So this is basically 2 by 2 table, and we include an actual column name and actual row name. After creating the table, let me go back to the last tutorial because we missed 2 functions that may be useful for your assignment 1. So the 2 functions are bar plot with sort function embedded inside, and the next function is nLevels. So before we introduce those 2 functions, let me also first import the use card data again. So let me copy the comment to our Markdown file, and remember to put 2 space in order to change line. And now let me insert a chunk to include the import function. Well, one drawback of our Markdown file is you may need to insert chunks from time to time, so it may take some time or time consuming. So let me run this. Well, one good thing about this R Markdown file is I no longer need to highlight these 2 lines. I only has to run current chunk. It will automatically run both lines of our command. Well, I have already successfully imported this dataset. Let me do the nLevels first. Well, nLevels function will output the exact distinct number of levels for a factor. So let me copy the comment first, and then I need to insert another chunk. So let me copy this nLevels to the inside the chunk. So inside the nLevels function, you need a factor variable in order to output the number of factor levels. So from last tutorial, we know that the model of used car is a character variable. So we use a factor function to convert this character variable into a factor variable, and then use nLevels function to output the number of levels of this model. So from last week, we know that it should has 3 levels. So let's run the current chunk. Well, we have the 3 levels output here. Well, the next one is bar plot. Well, in order to output the top most frequent color category in the bar plot, we need to use a sort function like inside this bar plot. Let me copy the comment and the codes first. Insert a chunk, and inside this gray area we will paste the code. So you see here we have the sort function inside this bar plot function. Let's see what is a sort function. Well, sort function basically giving a sequence, giving an order for the color categories based on its frequency, and see the default value for the second parameter is false, which means sort will giving an ascending order to the color category. But if we want to output them by descending order, we will set this decreasing parameter equals to true. So now after this sort, we will have a sequence of color categories with the highest frequency in the first index, and then the second highest frequency in the second index, and so on. So now we use 1:3, means we only want to output the index 1 from 1 to 3. So it will output the 3 most frequent category, the 3 most frequent color category in the bar plot. So let's run this chunk and see. So they only output the black, silver, and red color category in this plot. Well, next we will demonstrate how can we generate the output document based on our RMarkdown file. Well, before generating the output file, let me first save this RMarkdown file first. So let me click Save. And I want to first save it under desktop and name it test. And I click Save. So next, we will use the knit function to knit this current document to a PDF format document. So I will click Knit PDF. And this PDF will generate under the same directory. So if I save this RMD file to the under desktop, this PDF will also save it under desktop. So notice that the .rmd extension will automatically add it to this this file name. So it means it's a R Markdown file. On my desktop, I can see this text.pdf has been created. So let me open it and show you. So this title, our Markdown test, was created at our first step when we open the pop-up window. And this part is the comments, and this part is the R codes. And this is the output from the above R command. Let's see. Here we'll have the table output in this format. And besides the table, we generate a bar plot in our codes, and see here, this bar plot has also been saved in this PDF file. So basically everything, including the comment, the codes, the outputs, are all being saved in this single file. Well, besides the PDF file, we can also change the format of output file to HTML and Word. You can change it under the knit function. So I click this one, and I can knit it into a HTML file or a Word file. So let me demonstrate Word file. Let me click Word. So it will pop up a read-only test Word file. Let me close this one and see if it is still under the desktop. So it's right here. Let me open it. So it is no longer read-only, and it is also saved under desktop, the same directory. So basically, it output everything same as the PDF version, PDF format file. So basically, this is everything we need to cover in this tutorial. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening. Bye.